El proyecto DEPICT es un proyecto para que se pensó o se ha pensado, y estamos a mitad del desarrollo, donde se han trabajado las competencias, las 4 competencias que personas que vayan a trabajar en el sector creativo puede ser social media, televisión, radio, prensa, publicidad, una empresa de cualquier tipo que sea muy creativa, es decir, la pregunta es, ¿cómo sería una persona que una empresa del sector creativo quiere contratar? ¿Qué competencias básicas debería tener? Hemos hecho varios focus groups con empresas del sector creativo de los 4 países, hemos trabajado cada país por separado y juntos, y se han determinado que hay 4 competencias, que decía algo antes Domingo, que deberían ser imprescindibles. Estas imprescindibles al final son para todas las personas, porque da igual en qué trabajes, que deberían tener. Una es desarrollo personal, es esto de que cada persona tiene que estar motivada para mejorar profesional y personalmente. La 2 es el emprendimiento, la capacidad de aprender por sí solo, de ser un emprendedor, de ir por delante, etc. La 3 es creatividad, lo estoy diciendo en otro orden, creatividad, y la 4 es el uso de nuevas tecnologías. Es decir, se ha determinado que el desarrollo personal y profesional, la creatividad, el emprendimiento y el uso de nuevas tecnologías, el aprendizaje de nuevas tecnologías, es algo imprescindible para personas que quieran trabajar en el sector creativo. Nosotros, yo creo que ampliaríamos más y diríamos que es imprescindible para cualquier persona que quiera trabajar y ser un buen profesional en la empresa. Por eso está abierto a todo tipo de profesionales como vosotros. Entonces, cada país está liderando una competencia. En nuestro caso es creatividad y, como sabéis, pues el resto está liderando otra competencia, salvo esta con el desarrollo personal, que es esto que decía en Malva. Aquí el Malva y el azul son parecidos, pero todo lo que son los euros, esto que alguien me ha preguntado, ¿qué son los euros? Son ejercicios de desarrollo personal y profesional, entonces os van a hacer preguntas relacionadas con desarrollo personal y profesional. Nosotros en azul, que somos los de en medio, vamos a hablaros de creatividad, técnicas de creatividad, conceptos, la creatividad en la empresa y en la organización, etc. El amarillo, que es un módulo opcional, es decir, algunos de vosotros vais a hacer el curso de creatividad sin hacer emprendimiento, es emprendimiento. Entonces, esto es crear un plan de empresa, por eso decía que había que tener conceptos básicos de plan de empresa, si no es bastante complejo. Alguno de vosotros me ha dicho, a mí me encantaría hacerlo aunque no tengo conceptos básicos, pues adelante. Es una plataforma chulísima, muy avanzada, el Lunch Plan que nos van a presentar ahora, para ir rellenando casillas que has de pensar y hay que hacerlo, y luego te sale un plan de empresa chulísimo. Es decir, es una oportunidad de ver una herramienta muy avanzada. Todas las herramientas que estamos utilizando son herramientas de pago, que tienen una parte free, por ejemplo Schoology tiene su parte free, pero ahora estamos utilizando la premium, con lo cual podéis también saber cómo es una plataforma e-learning premium. Y Breaking the Waves es el juego para el uso de nuevas tecnologías, pues desde Latvia han decidido hacer un juego de temas relacionados con empleo, porque esto es para aumentar las competencias en empleo, por eso en el observatorio ocupacional estamos aquí metidos, ¿vale? No hacemos creatividad porque la gente sea más creativa, sino creatividad para el empleo. ¿Os ha quedado un poquito más claro esto, por qué hay que hacer tantas cosas? Entonces, todas las personas que estáis aquí vais a hacer como mínimo el módulo de desarrollo personal, el de creatividad y este que va a ser el juego de uso de nuevas tecnologías. Y algunos de vosotros va a estar enrolado en todo el proyecto porque también va a hacer el módulo de emprendimiento. ¿Sí? Your password is the password who Salford gave you. The blue, yellow, green, this kind of password. If you have problems to access to Schoology, you can send me an email. After you have assignments, you have to do 1, 2, 3, 5, and 5. This assignment you have to do it. Are compulsory. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And the other 1, 6 or 7, you can do are optional. You can choose if you want to do the 6 or 7, one of them. At the end, you are going to do 6 assignments, 1 to 5 for all the students, and some students can do 6 and others 7. If you can do the 7, it's up to you, but you have to do 6 of them. After you can see two tests, are very easy tests. One test to creativity course to pass the concepts, another is, I think it's funny and you need to think. In the other two, you need to think to do the two tests, but this is a very, very funny test of creativity to know if you are a creative person. And after you have a discussion, we want to know if your opinion about the whole course. This is Schoology is a platform of e-learning. It's very easy. And I think you can find all the options they give you. You can send an email, a message to other students. And here there are pages. We are going to put here the pictures and the videos, all the information about the creativity course.
Graph, point and click interface, where I can adjust my sale price over time. So I want to show you how that works. It takes just a moment to load in Safari. There we go. So I can change the scale of this graph, make the number bigger or smaller, and I can point and click. So if my sale price maybe has a seasonal element to it, which here in the US we have an extremely busy retail season in November and December, so maybe the price peaks with supply and demand. Or I can just come in and I can say, you know what, I want a baseline. I want to sell this for $19 across the board, save and close. So now with one quick move, I set my sale price for this product forever, well, for 5 years. So now in terms of volume, if I want to talk about how many units I'm going to sell, I can use the same type of screen, but now we're talking about the volume, not the sale price. So again, I can say, here's how many I'm going to sell over time, the graph goes like this. But I'm just guessing. So maybe early on, I want to do some real just guesswork and say, you know what, I'm going to start selling 10, I'm going to grow up to 200 a month, and show me a couple of different types of curves, maybe a linear curve that gets me there. So for a real quick and dirty estimate, you can do that. So if I save and close that, those numbers then get dropped into my spreadsheet here. Sorry for the delay. Sometimes when I'm doing a video call, it's a little slower to run. There we go. So now I've got revenue. I've got a couple $100s a month. I can always take a look at my numbers by month, by quarter, or by year. So if I collapse this down to a year view, I've just built revenue that represents 2,200 up to about 38,000 a year over a 5-year period. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So the other thing I want to show quickly, let me just set a sale price for my premium widget. There's a couple other ways to input numbers, which is really what I want to highlight here. So for the premium widget, I think we did 19 for the basic. Let's set a baseline of 49. For the premium, I'll press save and close, and that'll update for me. Okay, 49 across the board. So now for the volume, I'm going to plug in some intentionally really large numbers here, just so I can illustrate later on how the operating expenses get subtracted out of revenue. So I'm going to do this a little different though. I showed you baseline, curve, and fit to points. I can clear my graph. This is a little bit more advanced. So what I can do is say, you know what? A couple of months from now, I know I'm going to be selling 100 units a month because of my sales and marketing plans. About a year later, I'm going to go that to 200. Then it's going to really take off. Continue my graph here, up to here. So these are my known points about a year apart. So I can kind of come up with a curve. There's a few different options that represent that. And maybe that's a little bit aggressive, so I want to take that curve and kind of flatten it off a little bit. So it's a real easy interface. If I'm happy with that, I press save and close. These numbers are going to be really big, but that's okay. If my assumptions were correct, then this is what the math would be. 61,000 in the first year, almost $1 million in year 5. So any questions on revenue?
¿Alguna pregunta? Okay, go on.
Perfect. So if I go back to the P&L, we'll notice that this top line number, I'll break down to a yearly view instead of monthly. So this number carries forward into my P&L. So because I've got no costs and no operating expenses yet, it's all profit. But of course, that's not how it's going to stay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into promotions and marketing. Now let's say, hypothetically, I sell most of my widgets online. I have a website, so I do Google and Bing and other online advertising. So let's say I'm going to have a budget for that of $2,000 a month, for example. So I can come in and use the same type of tool to input my numbers quickly and easily. So I'm going to do a baseline of $2,000 a month. Set that, and I'll press save and close. And that will be automatically applied for all 60 months. 60 months, of course, being 12 months in a year times 5 years. Well, let's say maybe I need to spend a whole lot more in the first couple of months, maybe 10,000, to really seed it and get it going. So I can adjust those numbers, hit flash green to save. And now if I go back to my P&L, it's going to start to take shape. So in this first month, I make 4,000, but I spend 10,000, so I have a loss. So if I break this down to a quarterly view, in my first 3 months, I earn 13,000, but I spend 30,000, so I have a loss. Then I start making money because I've got 15,000 coming in, 6,000 going out. There's my net. So do you see kind of how this starts to come together? We can do the same thing with salaries, for example. So salaries is a screen that we make really simple for you. First, I'm going to add a department. Let's say we have sales. And then we've got a position. Let's say a sales manager. Someone to help me sell my widgets. So all I need to do is enter a salary, let's say 50,000, and how many people are in that position. So in the first month, I'm going to have 1. So you give it a moment, it flashes green, and 1 stays consistent throughout the 5-year period. You can change this. Let's say in January, at the beginning of 2014, you're going to change that to 2. You're going to bring on a new resource. Give it a second to save. Flashes green, and we assume that you now have 2 people going forward. So now if I press refresh, we do all the math. So now you've got a payroll obligation of $4,200 a month, which doubles to about $8,300 a month in January. But down at the bottom, there's some other tabs. So you probably want some sort of benefits, whether it's tuition reimbursement, or retirement, or health insurance, or child care, whatever else the company is going to pay as a benefits package on top of salary, you would put here. So maybe that's 10%, maybe it's 20%, whatever it is. Plug in those numbers for the 5 years. We'll do the math on that. We'll show you total salaries and then the benefits. Same thing with salary increase. Maybe you want to give salary increases of 5% to keep your employees happy once you've got them. So we'll show you the compounding effect of that, and we'll build that in. So if I refresh my numbers now, I've actually got a $4,500 a month obligation, which grows to about $9,200 a month in January. So we've just captured all of that, and there's a few other tabs worth noting. You can have recurring expenses for each department for things like phone and travel. And you can even have new hire equipment. So maybe every time you hire a salesperson, you need to buy some hardware, some software, a desk, whatever it might be. You can allocate all of that on one screen. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So now back to the P&L. This is really coming together a little bit more now. I'll take a look annually. So now in my first year, I've got 61,000 coming in. I've got 144,000 going out, most of which is salaries by about a factor of 2 to 1. So I'm losing 80,000, but it's getting better. So I'm earning more, and these costs are staying roughly the same. So my net is growing from negative 83,000 up to 89,000 in the 3rd year, and then it's really taking off from there because my sales take off. So that's kind of how the P&L works. And there's a couple of other categories here. Itemized and grouped expenses. You can click this little icon here, and you can change the name of it, or you can remove it. So you guys can completely customize your P&L to suit what you need. If these categories don't work for you, again, these are placeholders at the top. We've got a couple set in here. You can remove any of them. I could also add something. So let's say we need to pay a really big server bill for all this traffic that we're getting from websites and all this advertising we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I can add an item right to my operating expenses called servers, and I can plug that number directly in. So you guys have full control over what that looks like, and that's how the P&L works. Any other questions?
¿Alguna pregunta más?
I apologize for the speed with which I'm going through this. I admit that all the assumptions that are really the hard part, which is figuring out, okay, what am I going to sell this for?
Yeah.
How many can I reasonably sell? What am I going to pay my people? What is my marketing expense going to look like? Those are really hard questions. The goal of Launch Plan is to allow you in this class to think exclusively about the hard questions, and when you've got the answers, plug it in, and we'll do all the math and all that heavy, ugly work for you. So that's the idea, and again, that's why I apologize for going so quickly through it. If you guys have questions, we have a help menu here. So we've got a couple of tools you can use. You can always contact us, and we always have this big green question mark down in the corner. So use that if you have questions. We'll be happy to help you.
Okay.
¿Se puede exportar parte del contenido o todo, verdad?
Sí, they are asking if about the reporting, if it's possible to export the content of the report.
Yes. So under the export menu, there's a few things we have. Let me start with the view plan in browser. What this does, is it takes every section of your plan, gives it a little title page, gives it a cover letter. Well, you don't have the cover letter. I haven't worked on these sections yet. Here's my marketing plan. So here's what I wrote for my customers. It comes right out for me. And then in the financials, we give you an annual P&L. So that looks familiar. It's like the servers, I'd imagine. The balance sheet, which I didn't get into yet, and the cash flow. So that's kind of the stock export, but there's a few other options. You can export that same thing to Word or PDF. You can export the entire P&L, balance sheet, and cash flow on a monthly level to Excel, so if you want to do your own reporting or manipulation there. You can print any of the statements, like the profit and loss, for example. You can print it by month, quarter, or year. And you can also print some summary reports. So if I want to take a look at revenue, so here's my revenue report, just showing over time, or my promotions and marketing report. So there's a couple of different reports, and you can also add these. So let me go back real quickly. Let's go under, I'll just go back under the customer section. It wouldn't really make sense to put it here. So let's go ahead and add a financial statement. It gives me a couple of options here. I'll add my promotions and marketing. I just copy this into my plan. Here is my promotional marketing plan costs. So if I do that, and then I go to export my plan to either Word, PowerPoint, Word, PDF, or on screen, what we'll actually do for you is drop that directly into your plan. So you have control over kind of these reports and where they go and how this final product looks, if that's helpful.
That's great. Any more questions? ¿Más preguntas? Congratulations, they say here. It looks very nice too.
So much.
Yeah. Do you have any demo in YouTube? Or how?
So most of our sections here are under the help menu, so we call it a short video demo. And if I click that, it brings up a little YouTube, which is basically the same thing I just went through. Not every page has these, but we're working on adding them. Most of the pages I just showed you will have them. But again, any questions that we don't answer with the video, use this little green button and we're happy to help.
Okay. Okay, Matt, thanks very much. That has been very kind of you.
Absolutely. Glad to help. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Thank you.